Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I'm doing alright. There's nothing creepy about this at all. In fact, there's only one question I have for all of you. What'd you think of Mama Clawthorne? How is everyone doing today, guys? My name's T-Codes, and man, does this episode of the Owl bring a lot to the table. Oh, jeez. So, yeah, this is the Owl Season 2, Episode 4, or Episode 23 of the series, Keeping Up A-Fear-Ances. And yeah, there is definitely a lot with that title because... Alright, yeah. So, we kind of knew this was coming, again, because of the first 5 episode synopses that were dropped before Season 2 aired, and we knew that Eda's mother was most likely going to be the one that's coming to visit, and exactly right, because that's who shows up. In terms of Gwendolyn Clawthorne, as her name is, I wasn't entirely sure how she was going to be portrayed in this, because, you know, with parents in these type of shows, it's a mystery, and the only thing we really went off of was in Convention when King was like, trust me, you don't want to meet Eda's parents. So, you know, we were left with that, and at first we weren't sure why that was. Is it because her parents are mean? Is it because her parents are other things? So it wasn't entirely clear. But in the opening, with this flashback we have of Eda as the owl, or not as the owl beast, telling this healing coven member about what happens when she turns into the owl beast, and I kind of found this interesting, with her being trapped in her subconscious, being chased by this owl beast. It's kind of creepy, and the healing witch, the only thing that he can give her is her classic gem that she wears on her chest to show when the owl beast is taking over. So we get that clarification as to why her gem can go from gold to black like that. It's because that's when the owl beast is slowly coming out to take over. And all the healings Coven guy can say is they've never seen a curse like this, so they really have no idea what to do, and the only option they give her is going to the Potions Coven and getting the elixir to keep it at bay. But of course, Gwendolyn isn't gonna take keeping it at bay as a suggestion. She wants her daughter to be free of the curse, even if it means just ripping it out from her, which I was like, okay, yeah, that's a little too far, and Eda herself thought it was a step too far, and she makes the decision to run away. And while she was running away, she literally stumbles upon the portal, and I wasn't sure how to feel about that. A part of me was hoping that how Eda came into possession of the portal was going to be this cool backstory idea, maybe with this mysterious friend that Eda has, or maybe she went on a journey and she found it somehow. But no, she literally stumbled upon it. It was buried in the dirt and she picked it up, and boom, human world. I mean, I'm not fully complaining, I'm just saying this was probably something they had to cop out because, again, their second season and then season 3 being only 3 44-minute episodes, they probably did have something planned, or maybe this was a plan. I don't know. I'm not on the team, so I have no idea what the decision was on that. I just thought it was an interesting decision to have Eda literally just stumble upon this portal, but let's focus on the actual importance of this episode, and that being Gwendolyn's mom, or Gwendolyn, coming in to cure Eda of her curse. And of course, Lilith and Luce are flabbergasted at that fact that Gwendolyn is there to help Eda heal her of her curse, but Eda literally just sends her off, which leaves Luce and Lilith jaw-dropped, like, basically Luce states like, how could you, like, she literally was giving you your cure on a silver platter and you turned her away. And she even points out how if she hasn't seen her mom in months, and she's like, how could you just turn her away like that? And Eda reveals that this isn't a new thing, you know. Another thing about this episode that I found not that all surprising, and I think that's partially because of the amount of fan art, fan fiction, and stuff of how Eda and Lilith were raised, and that being Lilith being disappointed that her mother decides to visit Eda every year, and she hasn't even seen her in years. Like, Lilith hasn't seen her mom in years, and the fact that she is practically invisible to her. Like, Gwendolyn only mentions Lilith redoing her hair again, and it's like, wow, that's all you really want to say to your other daughter? Your eldest? Like, your older daughter? Because Eda's the younger one. So, it's like, geez, that's kind of cold. And then it leads to a pretty funny scene with Lilith, King, and even Hootie having ice cream together, and it's like, Lilith is mad about, you know, obviously not getting attention from her mother. King is kind of mad about, or well, no, King is there with her, and Lilith actually snaps at him, saying like, "How? Yeah, you're at least I know my mother. Your father left you," and it's like, yeah, this is getting pretty messed up. And even Hootie comes in and he's like, oh, you guys are eating too much ice cream. And then Lilith's like, you're not my mother. What are you doing? So it gets pretty funny and it gets pretty ridiculous. But I love it. I thought it was really cool to see the three bickering with one another, but also making it kind of funny because they're eating ice cream and they're acting so, you know, I mean, maybe they drank too much apple blood before it, or maybe there was apple blood in the ice cream, who knows? But, so while that's going on, Luce teams up with Gwendolyn to help cure Eda of her curse, because she thinks that if Gwendolyn has a way to cure Eda of her curse, then they should at least give it a try. And even Gwendolyn makes a deal with Luce that if she helps her, she'll help Luce figure out how to get back home, because Luce obviously has been trying to figure out a way to get back home, and she has apparently gone through every single book she could possibly find, and there is absolutely nothing about portals to the human world, or portals in general. And so, yeah, it's getting interesting with that. But so, Gwendolyn and Luce, they go to this secret cave where there's this almighty wizard, and I'll admit, rewatching the episode again, it kind of is easy to see the scam that's being pulled here. I mean, going into it the first time, I wanted to trust Gwendolyn because I figured Gwendolyn, her intentions were good, and at the same time, I thought she was going to be up to something, because, again, I wasn't 100% sure what kind of angle they were going with for her. Like, what, again, I was really intrigued to see what Lilith and Eda's mother was going to be like, and so going into this first time, I wasn't entirely sure, but they went into this here, and so the wizard gives Gwendolyn a book on something that could possibly cure Eda of her curse, and so Luce and Gwendolyn, they team up to lure Eda out of the house to cure her of her curse. And I love the way that Luce does it too. It's like she makes literally signs after signs of Eda for Eda to follow that literally say free apple blood. And it's so funny that Eda even buys it. She literally goes after her. I'm like, how would you, what? I mean, I feel like Eda knows a scam from a mile away, so why would she follow that? And oh yeah, completely forgot to mention, Eda has a new outfit. I actually like it. I mean, I thought her original outfit was cool, but I also like this new one. It's pretty rad. It's pretty cool to see her changing outfits. I was just surprised that it was in this episode, and it kind of came out of nowhere, you know? I mean, literally came out of nowhere with this new outfit, and I mean, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying, again, kind of weird. But not the main focus. The main focus is Eda literally being tortured by Luce and her mother. It's... I literally couldn't stop laughing. It was actually kind of funny because, again, it's like...
Whoa! Ah! Knife season came early this year. I just stole these. Help Mama up.
But, at first it seems like this is what they're trying to do in order to lure the owl beast out, so that way they can then cure it. But as they keep going through different suggestions in the book, Luce starts to piece things together that something's not right, and then she looks at the book and discovers that it's actually just a bunch of scams. Like, she puts the pieces together that Gwendolyn has been scammed, but Gwendolyn doesn't believe her. She's basically in denial of it, and Luce is, of course, basically deciding, okay, you know what, I'm calling this off, I'm gonna give her the elixir. But then Gwendolyn takes the elixir, and it turns out not only did she take that elixir from Luce, but she took every single elixir that was in the house. And and I was a little surprised she knew exactly where every single elixir was in the house. I mean, Eda literally scattered elixirs all over the house. There were some taped on the ceiling. They were under the couch. They were literally everywhere. So I'm amazed that Gwendolyn was able to find every single one, or at least every single one in the main living room, because as we soon see, Lilith turns into the owl beast. And I'll admit, I was a little surprised to see her design of this owl beast. It's very different from Eda's. You know, Eda's is more, you know, it's like an owl, except she's on all fours, and her wings are more in the middle rather than, you know, where the owl, and it's a little shorter with wings. Whereas Lilith, one, she's bigger than Eda, which I found rather interesting. Two, she has a longer neck with it, which I also found creepy. And three, actually, I guess it shouldn't be too surprised, but she was darker. Like, it was a darker version of the owl beast. But, I mean, thinking about Eda when she first turned into the owl beast when she was a kid, she was orange. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised about Lilith being a little more darker. But Luce, obviously, is seeing... Luce runs into King, who obviously tells her that Lilith has turned into the owl beast, and which leads to easily the most "are you effing kidding me" moment of the episode. Gwendolyn seeing Lilith in the beast form, being like, "Wait, she's cursed too?" And I'm just like, really? I'm like, really? You didn't see that? And even King calls her out on that. Like, really? Have you not been paying attention? But pretty much the big third act climax is Lilith and Eda actually getting into a fight as owl beasts, which I wish it went on a little longer, but again, it probably is understandable because, you know, runtime. But if we got an extended version of this battle, I would have loved to have seen it, because just this flying around, Bonesborough, crashing into the ground, crashing into buildings, duking it out is such a cool idea. And it was something that I think a lot of people were hoping they would get. I'm glad we did. I'm glad we got that. It's pretty cool to see these two owl beasts just duking it out, and even though it's in a pretty intense moment. So Luce and King, they go find Eda and Lilith, and also try to find Morton, who is selling elixirs, but unfortunately Luce doesn't have money, and she tries to give Morton her portrait of himself, but Morton isn't biting, which I found pretty funny. But Gwendolyn, after, you know, Luce and King kind of snap at her, she goes back to the wizard thinking, oh, maybe he can figure this out. But then she looks inside and realizes that, yeah, it's a scam. It's these little goblin things that are making up this literal puppet of a wizard, and leads to, I'll admit, the coolest moment of this episode for me, and also the most terrifying.
I could give you the next volume. 5% off. 10% off.
Leave. And
And if I ever see you in Bonesborough again, every beast in the forest will be after your head. Still got it.
I mean, a part of me was wondering just how much of Eda was gonna be in her mother, and boy, do we get a little bit of Eda in her mother here. I mean, I do find it interesting though when she said, you know, I joined the Beast Coven because of Eda's curse, because I thought I can tame it, and I'm like, so she wasn't a part of a coven beforehand, or maybe can you switch covens? It's like, that would have been interesting if she can actually switch, if you can actually switch covens. But if we're going off of just what she said, then technically she was covenless for about 15, or no, not even 15. It's like 20 years maybe. Because if Eda's been cursed for 30 years, yeah, so about 20 years. She was covenless for about 20 years at least. Like, maybe she did join another coven beforehand and then she switched, or yeah, maybe she was covenless, but when Eda got cursed, she joined a coven because she thought she can help her. And yeah, it's not a bad idea, but I mean, I can see where her intentions were. And of course, she knows after she realizes she was scammed, she goes to help Luce and King to stop Lilith and Eda. And I like this moment between her, Eda, and Lilith, you know, obviously because they're in the beast forms. She talks to them, and we get to see inside Eda's head again. And it seems like, you know, she's being chased by this owl beast. And next thing you know, Eda, you know, hears her mother's voice, hears her, gains some confidence, fights back the owl beast, and even says, "My turn to drive." And it just reminded me of Thor Ragnarok, where Bruce Banner was talking about how he and Hulk kind of like when Hulk is in. When he turns into Hulk, I mean, how it kind of works is like, he said it's kind of like both their hands on the wheel. So I like this, I kind of like that Eda basically taking this giant owl beast, turning it into a little baby one, and then just strangling it and just saying, "My turn to drive." It's like messed up. But Gwendolyn gives Eda and Lilith the elixir, turns them back to normal, and they embrace each other. You know, they're all happy. Or Lilith is very happy that her mother is actually paying attention to her. And so they get back to the Owl House, and Gwendolyn is getting ready to leave. And then, obviously, she and Eda have a moment, but then she also gives piece of lore to Luce, saying that Gwendolyn said that her great-grandmother told her of the story of a man from the human world who traveled to the Boiling Isles and back, because there's this thing called Titan's blood that causes leaks, or, as I'm kind of going Gravity Falls terms here, rifts in reality. So who knows who this mysterious human was? I mean, because if we're going, you know, if it's Gwendolyn's great-grandmother, that's a lot of time. So this is about over 100 years ago, if we're really putting it. Yeah, over 100 years ago. So Luce finds that really intriguing, and Gwendolyn basically sets up the next episode by saying that there should be stories of him at the library. So Luce, obviously with the next episode being Through the Looking Glass Ruins, Luce is going to go to the library, and she'll learn about this mysterious human who traveled to the Boiling Isles and how he traveled back. So we'll find out who that is. Obviously, there's a lot of theories about that right now, but yeah. And then last thing about this scene is Lilith actually goes with Gwendolyn back home. And I found that surprising. I found that rather surprising, but Lilith kind of made a good argument saying that, you know, because she knows a lot about the Boiling Isles, and obviously she cursed Eda, so she's been trying to figure out how to save Eda and herself, and so she figured what better way to do that than by going with someone else that's been also trying to figure out how to cure the curse. That, and the fact that obviously they have a lot of catching up to do. And then it also leads to a pretty emotional moment with Lilith and Hootie, which was
Oh, Lulu, you can't!
Pootsifer, I have to. But don't worry, we can be pen pals.
But I can't hold a pen!
I mean, I love how they built up this relationship with Hootie and Lilith in the first 3 episodes, and now they have this moment, and it's like, it's so sad. But makes sense. It makes sense because, you know, I mean, Lilith and Gwendolyn, I imagine the two can, you know, putting their heads together could possibly find a cure or something else. Never know. And you know, you think it's gonna end on a pretty somber note with Luce, you know, saying like, you know, like saying, you know, camp is probably over now. I hope my mom is all right. She's probably worried, sick about me. And then they cut to Luce's mom at her house, and she's crying, and you think, oh, it's because she doesn't have Luce, and then we get this scene.
Here, Mama.
Thank you, Luce. You always know what to do.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, I am really freaked out right now. I mean, we knew it was coming. I mean, with Creepy Luce, as Dana has called her, because, you know, at the end of Enchanted Gromfry, we had those mysterious letters, so now we have a somewhat revealed Creepy Luce. I mean, they're keeping her face covered for a reason. There has to be a reason, and a part of me is terrified to see why. I don't want to know what's under there yet, but we're gonna get it. And I don't know if I'm ready for it. And I don't know if any of you are ready for it. If you are, you're braver than most. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode, and my opinion, a really good episode. I mean, felt a little weird at some points with pacing and kind of the overall story and how it was, you know, and all that, but I still thought it was a good episode. Again, I thought Mama Clawthorne was really cool. I thought this story was really cool. The Owl Beast battle, even though it was short, I really enjoyed it. And obviously leaving us on this kind of creepy note was interesting, but yeah, overall, great episode. And honestly, I think really for the series, it's just gonna keep going this way. Sure, we're gonna maybe have a few episodes down the line that aren't gonna be like as grand and big as other episodes, but overall, I think we are all gonna agree that season 2 compared to season 1 is gonna be a lot better. But for now, 4 episodes down, and we have a lot more to go. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. Want to leave a comment, and if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.